Hey guys, so today I'm gonna do one of my first really natural ties that I've really worked on myself. I don't know if there's any out there like this. Really haven't looked for them, but it's something I've been selling for a couple years now for steelhead, and it's a pattern that's always in my boxes, even if it's a drive-by box. It's a streamer. I gotta have it with me just to check it out. It's been that good for me. So we're gonna get into tying my leech. I don't really have a name for these flies. Uh, I was calling it the Senyo leech because it uses Senyo dubbing, but this is something that I want to share with you guys. It's kind of a thing. I sell flies and I understand all these guys that work really hard on these super intricate patterns and designs, and I understand when it gets to be a little hurtful when they see someone producing and selling those flies. Uh, but the thing with this is it's such a reliable pattern for me that I feel kind of selfish holding off on giving someone the opportunity to catch steelhead and feel that excitement, especially if they're willing to put in the time to really make their own stuff. It's a fun experience catching flies or catching fish on your own flies. So I'm gonna enjoy a little beverage real quick, and we're gonna get into this. It's really easy, 5-10 minutes tops to make it, and it uses maybe 4 materials total. So let's get into this. So good. Okay, so typically I go to my local store, Keeney's Fly Shop, to get my materials. Support local. Great guys in there that they'll talk. It'll be fun and it'll be a good experience every time you go there. So they carry Daiichi and Masu, a couple other different brands. So I go in there and I look at Daiichi a lot because it's more cost effective for me, and I use the 1530 hooks a lot. Um, but I've done a couple leeches lately on a longer shank. So today I'm gonna go with that longer shank again. And I just had some generic hooks in my inventory, but today I picked up some Umpqua nymph hook size 6. This is the TMC 5262, which is a 2x heavy, 2x long bronze hook, and it kind of fits into the territory that I wanted to build this body on. Material wise, you're gonna need some black marabou for your tail, and then for the body, you literally just use Senyo's laser dub in black, which has that big old flash of blue hue to it, and then we're gonna use another dubbing today. This is just what I have on hand: UV2, diamond blue, diamond bright dubbing, and we're gonna be using this red. Oh, that makes it worse. We're gonna be using this red here for the core of this pattern. So let's go ahead and break open our bag. Save the label. Oh, there's a label in the bag. And generally I leave these barbed because I'm not. If I'm selling these, I'm not the one fishing them. It's not my choice to force someone to fish barbless. This is their choice, and I hope they go barbless. I've caught many steelhead without barbs. It's not necessary. You get the right tension and the right line management, rod management, you'll be okay. Is it a challenge? Yes, that's part of the game of catching steelhead. So, put this baby on. And the 3.8 slide over a size 8 and 6 really well. I'm using some stuff here today. Let's go ahead and get this centered. Alright. Thread wise, I'm just using black today. Uh, Thread really doesn't matter for this fly until you get to the head. Maybe you want to put some pink behind the pink bead. Really do whatever you want there. Um, So we're going to start the thread about the middle of the shank, because first thing we're going to do is tie in the marabou tail. Sorry the colors are contrasting, but I only have a tripod that sits super low. I'm going to lock that thread down. Take your thread back to the start of the bend, maybe just slightly past, like 1 or 2 wraps past the start of the bend. Then take your thread forward, really tight, close together, about 3 wraps. That locks in everything. And then we're going to get our black marabou. I love all of marabou, honestly, but today we're going to go ahead and get your feathers, kind of preen them out a little bit, see what kind of lengths. You want to really get even lengths for this tail. So we're going to go ahead, some weird chunks in this feather. There we go. And I would say off the feather, you're going to be pulling at least an inch to maybe an inch and a half of marabou, and you can either pull it off or kind of break it off the stem and see what comes off real quick. So to me, this is not enough yet. We need a little more than that. Pinch those together. Okay, so that's not bad. That's what we're looking for. Just keep all those tips kind of aligned. Excuse the neighborhood watch over there. And the way I gauge the length of this off the hook is I'm going to take my longest tips and set it at the hook bend, and then I'm going to go 1 extra past that. So I'm going to squeeze, it's like right about here. I'm going to move that back to where my thread's locked in. And that's going to be the length of my tail right there. Do 3 loose wraps, with that 3rd wrap being a nice... I've learned, don't pull down on the thread, go over the shank and pull that sucker up. And that will lock your material in. Oh, as I jinxed myself. Typically, that will lock in your material without rolling it over. So I'm going to go ahead and take my material out the front. I'm going to pull it back. This is just something I do to lock in everything. Put 2 or 3 turns nice and tight up against that in the front. That should prop it up a little bit, make it nice and easy to cut off. Try not to clip any of your tail. There we go, that's better. And get really down close to that sucker. There we go. Clean up anything around the hook. Okay. And we're just going to take our thread, spin it tight. This makes the thread nice and thin so it really bites into the materials. Just hold your tail in place and give that tail, or those butt ends, a little bit of a wrap. And then we're going to take our thread to the front of the eye, front of the hook. We're going to go back, kind of building up a little bit of a body there. Alright, so this is the fun part. I just learned about this method. I believe it's called the Aurora effect. You're going to build a dubbing loop. And I would say build your dubbing loop, you know, a good distance. Maybe less than, maybe like something like that. I'm going to go with that. Just put your thumb there, bring it up over the top, wrap it about 2 or 3 times, and then just take that thread back to the end there, and then you're just going to wrap your thread forward. I'd say for on this length of a hook shank, let's go halfway forward. It's always a pain in the butt going back. Just going to lock this into my dubbing spinner real quick. I'm going to use some low tack wax, and what I actually do is I just get a little glob of it on the thread. Oh, that's a little too much. That will work with it. And instead of dealing with spread, picking off globs, I just run it through my fingers on the thread, get those babies nice and shiny, and then heat and friction will keep the sticky fingers away. Make sure you get your index and your thumb. Alright, so this is how the Aurora effect goes. So you've got your dubbing loop, and you've got two strands in essence to work with. So what you do on the back side, if you're holding your loop with your finger pulling forward towards your face, that back loop is the core. So what we're going to do for the core is this red diamond bright, and we're going to build a dubbing noodle. This dubbing noodle needs to be kind of tight. It will be kind of, I'd say that's a good thickness. You're not close enough to really see it. I apologize. This is my first video to really demonstrate a good tie. But you're going to build that dubbing noodle all the way down the shank, and you want it to be even. So if you see thin spots, either move it up and keep spinning, or apply more dubbing. I just move mine up a little bit, spin it to where it binds together. See, I got a little bit of thin right there. So I'm just gonna try moving that up first, see what happens. There we go. So now everything's together. All right. So the second part of the Aurora effect is you get something to lay over top of the dubbing noodle, like you would to make a composite loop or something. So I've been using, this has always been what I use for my leeches. There's just something about black and blue that I'm so reliant on it. It's effective for this river, the American River here in Sacramento, California. So what I do, I'm not taking little pinches of this. I'm actually pulling it off between my index and thumb finger. Find a nice area where the dubbing's like kind of in the same direction. Pinch. This is all we're grabbing, but in a nice flat grip of it. And you're gonna just pull lightly enough. You pull a simple piece of fluff out. This is still too much. It just is. You want it to be translucent. You want to be able to see through it. Like you can see my shirt pretty clear right there. And you're just gonna lay down little pulls of that on top of the noodle, starting at the top, work your way down. Try to make sure the materials stay laid out nice and clean. And it will do that if you pull it out of the package just softly off the rest of the material. A lot of times when I was starting, I had to pull it between my fingers, 5 or 6 times. But if you get the hang of just pulling it out of the package, it'll come loose enough. And the reason we want this to be nice and thin is we don't want to overload the black on top of this core. We want to be able to see the core, and if you put too much of this, the second material on this Aurora effects method, it'll just block it out. So we've got our dubbing on top of dubbing, and your first spin is just to get things tight. Alright, so spun that up. I'm actually going to take a bodkin now. I'm going to softly pick at this to get the material loose on the black with the blue flash. It's almost like a purple flash. I think it's like iridescent. I don't know. But I've used this from everything from intruders to streamers. Put it on the bellies of some dark flies. And don't spend a whole lot of time doing this first pick through. Things are still very loose. Just want to get some stuff loose. Alright, now we're going to take it one more time, give it a good spin. Now, we're going to pick at this, and this is the longest part of making this pattern. And when I say pick at this, find your clumps, find where like the black is densest against the red, and just pick at it. Don't pull a lot of stuff, just pick at it and rotate the rope and work each side. You'll find over time, if you make this kind of stuff enough, if you pick things in, I believe, the right hand direction, you'll get a pretty fluffy brush because you spin it to the left. So all that material that's loose already just wraps around, and you just gotta give it a chance. Watch the marabou tail. Sometimes that stuff will get caught when you're spinning materials. You can just pull it out with your bodkin without doing much. Check for any stragglers and get that stuff off the rope here. Alright. And then pull all your material in one direction, because you're going to, when you wrap, you're going to force that material to go to the back of the hook. So I got this. You can kind of see that. It's a little scarce here in the middle, and that's okay. I don't expect to cover the whole shank on this first rotation. Oops, sorry. So start at the back on the marabou tail. Don't move forward until you actually have dubbing starting. Okay, so like right now, my rope is directly in contact with the shank, so I'm going to pull all of my material to the back towards the hook bend, and I'm going to just do really tight wraps, pulling everything back every time. And the effect I'm trying to create here is to make sure that the bottom of this dubbing dressing at least covers half of my marabou tail. Does it matter? No. But for my appearance and what I've been trying to accomplish, yes. So every 3 turns or so, take your dubbing spinner, give it a light pull, and you might see the material on the shank tighten up. That creates a nice durable fly. Don't worry about material wrapping up in a spiral right now. We're going to pick through this baby when we finish her. Sometimes if your if your dubbing loop is dense in the center and you're doing something this long, you're not going to notice it when you brush this out. So I don't think we're going to make it up to the eye. We're literally going to do this same dubbing loop until we get up to the eye of the hook. Tighten that down. Yeah, that tightened a little bit right there. We're going to be just short. That's okay. So I got a little bit left to go. It's always, in my opinion, I don't have much space to work underneath of this vise, so keep things set up just right. So I'm going to cut this loop off, make one more, take it up to the eye. Gotta go ahead and lock this thread in real quick. Don't need to make this loop as big, so we'll go. I'll take that up to the eye, give it a couple wraps. Looks like my hook's about to shoot out of the jaws here. Again, put my dubbing spinner in there. We're going to do a little bit of glue. Again, take that glue and really just smear it between the threads. Get that stuff nice and set. And just take your fingers, and you'll see the glue come off and little black things on your palm. Because if you go to grab your dubbing with the glue, you're going to want to give up on tying for the afternoon. Alright, so put the dubbing spinner back in there. Do my red dubbing noodle for the core of this fly. When you guys finish tying this, you may be like, well, I can't see the red core at the center of the fly. Like, there's so much Senyo laser black dubbing covering everything. That doesn't matter. It's not about what you see, it's about what the fish sees. So when this is in the river, the undulation of your hydraulics, especially if you fish this like I do on the swing, I swing it, and while it's going through the swing, I actually take my line and I jig my line to give this leech a little bit of action, because leeches are not still swimming objects. They spiral and bob. So it's got to look realistic to get a grab. There it is. Alright. Dubbing noodle's been made, so now we're going to go ahead and lay our Senyo laser dub on top of that. That's not a good grab. My dubbing pack is all out of control. Okay, so I got a little bit of glue left on it. Alright, so again, nice translucent poles. Start at the top. And if things are kind of not working with you, you can take your fingers and move it up. Expect to lose some material though out of the pole, so. Okay, so I've got my brush with the laser dub. I wish you guys could see it better. Sorry, I'll work on that kind of thing. And again, first spin, give it a good one. Let it tighten up. Then just lightly pick at it for a second. Just kind of loosen everything. You're not trying to pull stuff out, you're just trying to get that black Senyo laser a little loose, because all these translucent fibers are what we're really after. The black will come naturally as we pick this, but that blue flash they incorporate in this dubbing, that stuff will wrap up and disappear on you. Alright, and we're going to spin it nice and tight. And we're going to pick it out. This is where we really spend some time unraveling this beast. It looks like I'm a little thin again in the middle. Just rotate it and work each corner. Look at those dense spots, see if there's an opportunity there. Sometimes that's just dubbing really locked in, but you should give it a shot. Alright. Spill my super glue. Pull all that material. It's a sharp hook. Pull it all to the back of the hook and tight wraps. Butt to butt. Real tight. Do that. The first area that you go over the shank, do it twice. That way you get material there. We're just going to constantly keep pulling things back, taking this to the eye of the hook every 3 turns. Give it a little, grab the eye of the hook and give it a little tight pull on the thread. You'll see that material tighten up again. And then once we get to the eye, I personally try to squeeze as many wraps in there as I can. And each turn I'm going to give it a tug. One more. I think that's about all I'm going to get. So we need to have some space for our thread wraps. So take the rest of the dubbing brush if you've got excess. Pull it down so it's out of the way. I'm actually going to do 2 or 3 wraps on the inside, pulling it really tight when I'm pulling up, and then 2 wraps on the front. 3. That sucker's not coming out. Cut it as close as you can to the fly. And what I do to finish my flies, it looks like a pretty tight knit right now. I've been using Zap-A-Gap to seal everything. I'm going to do a whip finish on this, but I do a couple turns of super glue to really get some solid material. This bottle is pretty much done. Let's see if we can get something out of it. There she comes. I'm only going to do like a 1/2 inch bead, and I mean as minimal as you can because this stuff will build up real fast. Pull all that material to the back so you're not catching anything, and try to do these wraps in a very tight presentation. So there's 3 wraps, was about a 1/2 inch of super glue, Zap-A-Gap, whatever you want to call it. And just take a whip finish, do 4 or 5 turns right on top of that super glue. Try to keep it from building up on the bead. I do that a lot when I'm rushing, but I like to have the thread wraps behind the bead so there's a good presentation there. Alright. Now we're going to take our bodkin out, finish this up by picking the crap out of this thing. Now I'm spinning the fly with the vise. I'm spinning the vise towards me as I pick this to kind of demonstrate the one angle I was talking about. There's going to be some scrap. Get rid of it. Keep it away from that super glue. It's still setting right now, but this is perfect. This is coming out great. I want that blue and black from the Senyo stubbing pulled out really nice. And you'll find a point where you're just like, there's nothing left to pick. Find that point. Truthfully. Get there. It'll be worth it. Alright. Just gonna grab my brush real quick to brush this baby back to show you guys. Where's the camera? There we go. Black with Senyo. This is super simple. 5 minutes when you're just doing it, not talking about it. It's worth it. I've been kind of like finding a fly for every species that hits our river that I can just go to without hesitating if it's going to even work. This is, I do not hesitate at all grabbing this, and that's why it's in all my boxes. Again, I don't know of anybody that makes a fly like this. It incorporates a simple pattern, or I'm sorry, a simple method that I learned just recently existed. And right now you guys can't see it, but it's like a Halloween booger, but black Senyo with a reddish orange diamond dub. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys get some steelhead with this. This is what it's all about. They're the biggest, best game to play, and finding a piece to the puzzle can change the game.